I take some things from the game day morning text exchange. Mooch sent out this photograph of him and Kurt for the, I guess, 2017 Game Changers episode. The NFL Network, a show called Game Changers, where Mooch would have three prospects coming into the NFL draft and work them out and talk about the life and talk about the game. And there's Kurt, because these are the three quarterbacks that were going into the draft. You've got Brad Kaya of Miami, Davis Webb of Cal, and Texas Tech's Patrick Mahomes. Unfortunately, I believe only one of these youngsters from the Game Changers are changed the game.
Davis Webb?
And Mariucci accused in the text exchange Kurt Warner of trying to change Patrick Mahomes' throwing motion, and that's how I bring in my friend who's calling the game on Westwood One Radio, Kurt Warner. How are you, Kurt?
I am good, Rich. I am good. It's always great to hear how you're going to lead into me, and I always appreciate it. Always appreciate it.
I don't know. Doesn't sound like there's any appreciation in your voice right now, Kurt. Got to be honest. Don't think I'm centered for the appreciation.
Well, you never tell the whole story, and Mooch never tells the whole story, and I'm just here to kind of just take my shots, and I'll just move on.
No, it's okay. But so let's start with this one. When you did see Mahomes that day, and you did spend some time around him before Andy Reid traded up to go get him in the draft. What was your thoughts on Mahomes? Clearly, I don't think anybody saw his first 3 years as a starter, first 4 years in this league coming. But what did you see out of him that day, Kurt?
Well, I think you definitely saw the skill set. You definitely saw the talent level in his arm. Still to this day, I mean, the one thing that kind of would jump out at you, and especially for a guy like me that's all about technique because that's how I had to play the game, he was very unorthodox in how he threw the ball. And, some of the balance or the arm angles and some of those different things that I think always concern you about a quarterback because, a lot of guys, when they have those kind of deficiencies or their technique is a little bit off, it translates into not being very consistent or successful on a football field. But obviously we know that there's some guys that are different. Like, Aaron Rodgers, I would never take a young guy and say, hey, try to learn how to throw like Aaron Rodgers because he does it differently. I mean, there's times he's got both feet off the ground and he's making a 35-yard throw. Patrick Mahomes is very much in that mode, and that was the thing that you couldn't see at Game Changers when we're, throwing to spots or we're trying to do drills. You couldn't see everything else that comes into play when you're talking about Patrick Mahomes. So, saw the talent level. You saw the unorthodox nature of how he threw, and that was my biggest concern. And to your point, you were Mooch showing, he wanted to change his throwing motion a little bit. I would still like to take him and tighten some things up because I think if he did that, he would be even better. He would be even more consistent. But the bottom line is he's just one of those rare beasts that understand how to throw the ball from different platforms, has a unique ability to connect his mind to his body, and he overcomes so much of the stuff that most guys wouldn't normally be able to overcome.
And have you spoken to him yet for game day morning? I know you've already spoken to Brady, correct? Is that
yes? I have spoken to both of them.
Okay, so what did you
out of the way early?
Okay, so what did you walk me through? What you found with both of these guys? Who I mean, look, it's such a huge matchup. We know that. And I think the matchup is only going to get larger in our, dashboard, not our rearview mirror, or I guess in our rearview mirror once we keep on moving forward with Mahomes' career and whenever Brady finally does decide to hang them up. What did you find out from both of these guys this week in your conversations, Kurt?
I mean, you just kind of find out, even when you do these interviews, you try to go different angles. But I think the bottom line, what usually comes out in an interview is who these guys really are. And that's what came out to me in both of these interviews is that Patrick is a great kid, is a humble kid, but is still a kid and, and approaches the game like that. One of the fun things that hopefully makes the interview for game day morning is, I was asking him about some of those crazy plays that they come up with. And I was asking him, Is it Andy Reid that comes up with these plays, or has it gotten to the point now where you or some of the other guys come in every week and bring some of those fun things to him? And he goes, yeah, now it's like me and Kelsey and Tyreek, we're over on the side of practice, and we're practicing these different moves and trying to sell them so we can go over to Big Red and say, hey, coach, we practice this. We think this will be really good. And so it's fun to see that approach, because when you watch the Chiefs play, it very much seems like that, doesn't it? It seems like they're all having a blast, and they're having fun, and they're doing backflips, and Travis Kelce is being Travis Kelce, and Patrick Mahomes is playing out in the backyard, and that very much comes across on, in the interview and when you sit down and talk to him and get to know him. And then on the other side, you get Tom Brady, who is the ultimate competitor, and everything is about getting every advantage and taking advantage of every moment and trying to get to as many Super Bowls as he can and trying to beat everybody that gets in his path. And that is his mindset in everything that he does. And there's no signs of stopping it. I even asked him at one point, do you ever consider that this may be your last Super Bowl? And he actually said yes. I was thinking that he might just say, nope, I'm planning on playing longer, and I'm planning on being in more Super Bowls, and that's just what I do. But he's very businesslike, and he's very professional. And, everything he does, I think, is meticulous, and he's got a reason for everything. And that comes across in the interview as well, is that sometimes I want him to kind of break his shell and have a little bit more fun. But this is who he is, and this is how he's wired, and it's why we're watching a guy do something that no one's ever done and that maybe no one will ever do in this game, is because that is how he approaches this game and this profession, and he's the ultimate competitor.
And we're grasping, all of us in the media and just fandom are just grasping it to try and, there's no answer to the rhetorical question, can you believe Brady's still doing this? But the perfect person to try and get an answer out of would be the person who he beat in his first Super Bowl. And what do you think when you're sitting down interviewing Brady for his 10th Super Bowl and you were in the first competing with him, Kurt? I mean, what goes through your head when that happens?
Yeah. It's almost hard to fathom, Rich, because, I remember when I was growing up, and I said to myself, okay, I want to be a quarterback that starts in 5 Super Bowls, because when I was growing up, nobody had ever started in 5, and then John Elway ended up starting in 5. But that was kind of my goal. And now I think to myself, and you got Tom Brady, and kids can't even dream to play in 11 Super Bowls. I mean, you can't even dream for that. And so most kids are looking at it and going, well, okay, Tom Brady will be number 1, and then I'll shoot for number 2, and maybe I can get to 6. It is just incredible to think what he has stacked on top of, everything else year in and year out, what he's done this year. And I think it's what makes this game so compelling, is that you have Tom Brady, and the guy that, 2 years ago, Rich, we were all talking like, this will never be done before. There's no chance that anybody ever does what Tom Brady does. Now here he is playing against a kid that's 25,
right,
that will be playing in his second Super Bowl.
Right.
And now we're starting to go, oh my gosh, this is a battle of, as a lot of people say, maybe the 2 best quarterbacks we'll ever see when it's all said and done. But more importantly, it's the GOAT, hands down the GOAT in Tom Brady. But it's the one guy that we see that we say, maybe
Yep.
This guy can do it. I don't know if anybody else will ever be able to do it. I don't know if any kid will ever be able to dream about it. But here's the one guy that is set up at this stage in his career where we say, there's a possibility. And that, to me, is what makes this so unique and so special. We've got the GOAT and the next greatest, and he's got the one chance that we think to maybe rival the guy that he's playing against. And as you said, goes all the way back to when I played, and that's when the legend started. It's still going on, and it's kind of like the best, coming to an end, and we're ushering in the next 2 decades of our game with the next great one. And so it's phenomenal, and both of them, you admire them and you respect them for who they are and how they play the game and how they approach this. And so I can't wait, like everyone else, to see these 2 guys go head-to-head in these two teams go head-to-head on the biggest stage.
Well, based on what you just said, Kurt Warner, that's why I asked our colleague who's going to be part of our Super Sunday extravaganza on NFL Network, our pregame show that starts at 9 a.m. from Raymond James. I asked Willie McGinnis, is it possible that Brady at any point in time is, in fact, thinking about the fact that Mahomes is off to such a great start? And if there is anybody who can just maybe, to use the phrase you just said, just maybe get him, that it's Mahomes. And that's another reason why Brady, as if he needs another log on that all-time great fire that burns within, it gives him even an extra sense of, I got to beat this kid because he might actually catch me one day. And so on behalf of my 65-year-old self, I need to do this. Like, literally, like, does he think that? And I'm wondering if you think he does think that way, potentially.
Yes, I quite frankly think that. And again, it's to me, it's how Tom Brady is wired as much as anything, is that, he wants to beat everybody in every time he plays. And, do I think there's a part of him that says, okay, maybe this kid gets to 10 Super Bowls, but I'll get to say, he went to 10, but I beat him in one. Do I think Tom Brady thinks like that? Without a question, I think Tom Brady thinks like that, is that he understands all of that. He sees the big picture, and he wants to be the greatest. And all the great ones, that's what goes through their mind. I want to be the greatest, and to do that, I've got to beat the greatest or the next greatest or the next great thing. And, yes, Tom Brady is wired like that, and I believe that goes through his mind, even though there's a bigger picture and who he plays against and the Chiefs' defense and all that stuff. Yes, I believe that is in the mind of Tom Brady, as everything else is, as he takes all of this in and tries to, take down anybody in his path.
So the few minutes I have left with you, my friend Kurt Warner, X and O it for me. I know that there's so many different ways to go because of the number of playmakers that are at the disposal of these two great quarterbacks and defenses that have playmakers of their own right. The Buccaneers linebackers versus Kelsey, for instance, or the Chiefs, the way that they have been able to put the bang thing on with people with Tyrann Mathieu ready to snipe somebody. So how do you have this all worked out for Super Bowl 55? Best you can lay it out in a couple minutes.
There's so many great storylines that I could break down, Rich, as you know. But the way, just big picture-wise, I think the Chiefs are the better team. I think they are the better team across the board. I think they have more ways to beat you. I think they're more explosive offensively. And I think they win this football game. That does not mean that the Bucs don't have the pieces or aren't good enough to win this game. There are multiple ways that they can win this game, and it starts with the pass rush against those two backup tackles. Can they force Patrick Mahomes to be someone different than he usually is? But I just believe that the Chiefs are the better team, have been more consistent, are good in these big moments, and they find a way to win this game. And I also believe that this game has a tendency, in my mind, to not even be that close, that the Chiefs could win this game by double digits based on, just the way that I see it play out in my mind, outside of some of those strange things that could surely happen in this big game.
And then the strange thing potentially, well, it's not strange. I mean, it's weather. But if it rains, we were talking about this yesterday. What if there's a wet football? I said it because I listen to you when you talk, Kurt. That the wet football is one thing, but it's the wind that really is something that would affect anything. But what if it's a wet day, a rainy day in this game? Yeah,
I will say, depending on the rain and how hard it rains, because that's one thing that you cannot control.
Right.
That if a ball is wet and it slips out of your hand, it slips out of your hand. And sometimes that can be the nature, too, of Super Bowls because, as you know, they try to bring in new footballs in the Super Bowl like every play in the first half so they can give them away or do whatever they do. And so oftentimes the balls aren't broken in really, really well all the way through until they get whatever that cycle is of balls in. So a wet ball, a slick ball, could that have a hand in a game? Without question. And, you have to think if that were the case, it would probably lean in the direction of the Bucs, putting into the Bucs' favor because they run the football normally better. Tom Brady has dealt with a lot of weather and kind of the nature of how they play as opposed to throwing the ball down the field. But, gosh, this is why I want all playoff games inside. I do not want to see Mahomes against Brady in the rain, not being able to play their best, So I really, really hope that that it's a beautiful night and we get a chance to see our biggest stars play their best football on the biggest stage.
Last one for you, Kurt, I promise. I know you got to run. But the last quarterback that Brady got, also a Ram in Goff. Are you surprised, Kurt, about what happened with Goff, McVay, Rams, Les Snead, rolling, just going for it, pulling out all the stops, getting Stafford here? Were you surprised by that?
Yeah, I was surprised by it. A young quarterback that has done nothing but win, that has, led you to a Super Bowl in his young career. I'm really surprised that he's not there and won't be the guy there for the long haul. But I also see the other side of it is that, Matthew Stafford is a unique talent. He's a guy that gives almost every team in the league an upgrade from a physical standpoint, and a guy that can do what only a few guys like the Rodgers and the Mahomes and those guys can do. So I understand the intrigue there of that, and I think on paper you might say to yourself, well, this makes us a little bit better, from a big picture standpoint. But but I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated by it all because we're in a league that what have you done for me lately, and we're always looking for the next big thing. And I just I feel bad to a degree for Jared Goff because he's done nothing but the right things and nothing but win. And now he's moving on to another place, and I wish him well. And I'm excited to see what this Rams offense can be with Stafford and that division. It's a great division already, and it's going to be fun to watch.
Well, I know I said you have to go. I think I heard your Skype. Is that your QB Confidential call for your new website that you got ready?
I'm actually going to go interview Russell Wilson in just a second.
Oh, my gosh. All right.
But yeah. But I appreciate it. QB Confidential, I'm going to be launching here in the next couple months. I know you've seen some of the videos that are out there on social media, but it's just a teaching and instruction platform that I've built kind of through the pandemic to really reach the masses with my passion for this game, whether you're a fan or a coach or a player that want to grow in your knowledge and understanding or take your game to another level. I'm going to have stuff from blackboard to on the field to in the playbook to in the film room. And then some motivational stuff based on my story to kind of get your mind right and the mindset that it takes to be great. And so I'm pumped about it. You can follow me on @QB Confidential on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Obviously, Kurt13 Warner is my Twitter handle where a lot of the stuff kind of goes out, and I'll be giving people updates and letting them know what we're doing. And hopefully it'll be a great platform to impact our game for the next generation.
Kurt, I will see you on our, I guess, game day morning Zoom later on for our pre-show meeting later on today, and I'll see you in Tampa. Love you, man. We'll chat soon.
All right. Love you too, buddy. Can't wait.
Right back at you. There's Kurt Warner. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.